体的に3D の方の技術の話をもう少し。
In Final Fantasy VII, the characters were in 3D, but the background and the setting was all still in 2D. And then in Final Fantasy X, both were in 3D, and we could add camera movements and add a little bit more depth to the world. Ever since the Super NES days, we really wanted to create movie quality cutscenes and really portray these characters in a really lifelike way. And with Final Fantasy XIII, with the use of new shading programs, we're really able to just go for that CG movie look from the get-go. And so I was really happy that we could pursue this option.
It's not a question of can or can't.
Now you're learning.
僕は、スーパーファミコンの頃から
I've been involved in the Final Fantasy series since the Super NES days, and since then, it's always been one of our main focuses to breathe life into the characters and make them real to the players. And for the Super NES, the characters were depicted as sprites. They didn't have any voice, and all their talking was done just through text, and that's really advanced. That's one of the things that I feel has really evolved through the years leading up to Final Fantasy XIII. With the PlayStation 1, the characters were now in 3D and polygon form, and with the PlayStation 2 there was voice, and now the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 we were able to realize more detailed facial expressions and give these characters more emotion than ever, and so they've become very realistic, and I really look back and think that that's something that's really evolved.
Is that my hero?
直接なんていうかプラットフォームを変更したきっかけは
I can't recall if it was 2005 or 2004, but at the E3 of one of those years, we showed a tech demo for Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 3, and this was created by the Final Fantasy XIII team, and that's when the Final Fantasy XIII team, the development team, really shifted their focus from the PS2 to more high-def hardware for PlayStation 3. After they created this tech demo, they really felt that, wow, we want to create a game in this high quality as well. So that's when they shifted their focus and switched platforms. And the most difficult thing, the challenge that was presented in shifting platforms is, of course, that we had to create the basic engines for the game from scratch again for the PlayStation 3. And this took probably added about a year to the development time overall. So that's one of the direct causes of probably the length of the development as well.
そうですね。
There's not really a certain template that we followed in creating the Final Fantasy series. Say if it's a JRPG or a Western RPG style, we didn't really aim to create one certain type of game, but rather we created a game. We created Final Fantasy wanting to create something new, and that kind of the complete product and the game kind of fell into place. And also, we feel that more so than a JRPG or RPG in general, we feel that Final Fantasy XIII is kind of similar to the FPS style of game, more like a recent example would be Modern Warfare, but players are constantly presented with different situations, and they're kind of going forward and accomplishing these different challenges that are presented to them. So in that sense, Final Fantasy and the direction that it's going to go into the future is always going to be pursuing something new and different, and what genre it kind of falls into will depend on what the final product turns out to be.
当然ハードが代替わりして
For Final Fantasy VII, of course, it was released for the PlayStation 1, and as I mentioned earlier, the animation was a lot more simple, and there was no voice acting involved at all. So as the hardware develops, there's so much more that can be done for the game, and the visual capabilities are just really up. The quality is so high right now. So in a sense, I'm really interested to see this more complete form of a Final Fantasy VII portrayed more realistically with the voice and the animation and all the subtle expressions there. I would be interested to see that, and to make that would be very it would be a great experience, and I don't get tired of people asking that question, so I will continue to answer my thoughts at that time as long as people keep asking.
All set. Okay, good night.